Yeah, well, Trump's a warrior, and he's not going to let the country die because he's sick. And if Trump doesn't win the election, the country will die. All right. Hey, everyone, and welcome to Patriot Crusader Mission Podcast live on Facebook right now.
It's Friday, right?
Is it Friday?
Is it Friday?
I don't know. I'm so lost.
Happy Friday, I think.
Happy Friday. Man, it has been a tumultuous, crazy, 10 days since we last did a live one. I know I published my interview with Jay, the congressional candidate, but Jay Allen. But holy smokes, peeps, we have a lot going on. The first thing I like to do is I like to open with a prayer for our president and first lady. Dear Heavenly Father, Lord, we come to you now as the great healer. We ask that you wrap your protecting and healing hands around the Trump family right now and in our nation, Lord. Right now we are such a divided and chaotic nation right now. We ask that you bring healing to our president and to the first lady and to everyone else who suffers from this plague. And we ask that you bring cool heads, clarity, and a love of country to everyone out there who is a little nervous right now and afraid, and put a reassuring hand on them that all is going to be all well. And we pray this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
So, again, this has been crazy. I woke up out of a dead sleep at 5 a.m. this morning and just, felt, I looked at my phone, which I always do because I'm always afraid that the world ended overnight and I didn't get the word. And next first thing staring at me is President Trump and Melania Trump have COVID. And it didn't take long for the vultures to descend.
Of course not.
Unfortunately.
Of course not.
So within a few hours, the New York Times had posted that Republicans would be removing Trump from the ticket.
Well, first there was who was it? Which outlet did
that? Was the Washington Post who said,
"Wouldn't it be great to not have to deal with him anymore?"
Yeah, basically they had a social media post. I think it was a tweet that said, "Imagine if we never had to think of Trump ever again." And then they had since deleted it because of how classless and bad that was. And then I was watching after turning on Fox this morning, and unfortunately, they continue their downward spiral of leftism. And they had Chris Matthews on there. Chris Wallace. Yeah, sorry. Chris Wallace on there, who was outed as a left-wing operative for the debate performance and absolutely humiliated. And he sat there for 15 minutes, let's say 10 to 15 minutes, completely bashing the president, throwing him under the bus for his inability to be able to moderate. And it was disgusting. And then Geraldo came on, and Lauren and I, this is where we disagree. I thought Geraldo piled on him again. Lauren thought, I'll let you speak to yourself, but I thought, again, he was undermining the president, whether it was with good intentions or not. Let the president lead. Follow his lead as your friend. But go ahead.
You're just in saying that he shouldn't be out campaigning or attempting to work right now? Is that what you're saying was undermining?
Yeah, I'm saying that Trump understands what's on the line right now. And do I think he should do what it takes for him to get well? Yes. Do I think Geraldo has magically become a doctor and knows what's best for Trump? No. Do I believe he cares for him as a friend? Yes.
And that's what I was picking up on, that there was concern and care there, and his understanding is that rest is best as far as beating this. And so he was saying, no, Trump should put things aside to be able to get healthy and get well. And so I didn't correct or not, or the right call or not, I didn't see his interview as undermining or going against Trump, I saw true concern there versus the Chris Wallace interview, which was much less so.
Yeah, well, Trump's a warrior, and he's not going to let the country die because he's sick. And if Trump doesn't win the election, the country will die. The things that'll happen will change our country for the next few centuries. This is legitimate. This is real. The Democrats have already said they were going to remove the filibuster, which means that it will not be a 60 vote to get any major thing done. It'll be 51. And that they will immediately make Puerto Rico and Washington, D.C. States, which will give them 4 more Democrat votes in the Senate, which is not recoverable. It'll take us 100 years to be able to shift the country back the other way. And then, everything else that goes with it, packing the Supreme Court, instantly, saying, hey, we're going to have 15 and putting, 6 all liberal judges on there at once, so that it'll literally go, it can't be undone. It'll change our government. We will no longer be the same United States of America. And it's all for power. It's all for power because they can't legislate victories. They can't do it with rationality in the way in the system that was built in there. So let's tear down the entire system. And if they do that, it'll be a civil war. There'll be blood in the streets. It'll be apocalyptic. And I pray that cooler heads prevail. Yeah. Because otherwise, I seriously don't think that all the patriots out there are going to let them get away with it.
I was wondering, and I mean, pray that none of that happens, but I was wondering, like, how long would it take if they went through with this and did the, obviously the packing the courts, that's very difficult to overturn because of the terms on those for those people. Yeah. But if they added the states and they, made it so that they could basically push through all of their legislation, how long it would take for more people to have their eyes open about the whole thing and possibly piss off enough of the people in the middle with that whole process that they would kind of undo themselves there.
Well, it would take 2 years, and for 2 years they'd be able to do what they wanted until the next midterms.
Yeah.
Right? So it would literally probably be assassinations. It would probably be extremely violent backlash with firearms, with militias rising up, with everything. I mean, I think it'll make what BLM and Antifa are doing look like kids play. I think it'll be targeted, military action from former military cats doing stuff because they didn't go overseas to die for freedoms to see tyranny rise here and do that. Now, I'm not calling for that. I'm just saying, unfortunately, I think that's what'll happen. I think that people are pushed to the breaking point right now, and they are praying that the system works. Mm-hmm. They are praying that enough people out there have seen the madness of the left, have seen the madness of BLM, have seen the madness of Antifa and chaos and anarchy and Satanism, and have decided to come back from the ledge and let things work the way they're supposed to and get us back to our principles. If that doesn't happen, I honestly...
How do you see going down this hypothetical of civil war or much higher scale of civil unrest happening on both sides? How do you see that kind of kicking off? Do you see it being a coordinated, militarized effort, or a handful of people maybe getting together and making that assassination plan or something that then is followed up with kind of a greater movement?
Well, a handful would be coordinated, right? And I just think that it would be a culling of the cancer. I think that, people would be taking out, CNN anchors and anyone who they deem to be corrupt. And, again, it's horrible. It's monstrous. It shouldn't be done. But, and again, I'm no way condoning this or whatever, but I think that's the backlash from this.
I mean, certainly no one truly would want that to happen just because, for personal reasons, who wants to put their own families through a situation like that? So, so we'll just
I just don't see them leaving them any other option. Mm-hmm. When you're going to break the whole system, when you're going to basically undo all the checks and balances that the forefathers put in there. There is no other way to do it, and I'm really concerned that if they back people into this corner, there's nothing else for them to do.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it will be targeting of high-profile individuals who they believe are behind this to do that. And that will, again, cause the government to crack down on people and come after firearms and martial law, which will cause more bitterness and more retaliation. And that's why civil wars are so terrible. They are terrible. It is war in your backyard. It is the ugliest thing imaginable. It is friend against friend, brother against brother, father against son, mother against daughter. It is utter evil incarnate. And that's why we have to, take a step back from this. Because if we don't do that, America will never be the same. Never. I mean, we may recover in a couple centuries.
Yeah.
But, because I think our economy will go in the dump. We will no longer be viewed as the most stable civilization in the world. We'll lose the dollar will no longer be the global currency, which will crash our value and our dollar and everything that we do and have consequences on our economy that no one can really, that I can't predict. I'm not smart enough. And the freedoms we all enjoy will have to be cracked down, which will cause massive retaliation. And that's for that. And that's if we get to them having that power. So before that, we have two presidential candidates who are not going to accept the results, and we're not going to know who the president is.
Yeah, this is a crazy
for
thing.
Possibly months. And guess what, people? Hey, it's okay to vote Democrat sometimes. Nancy Pelosi becomes president on Inauguration Day temporarily until they can figure out who won this, which may be months. How much damage do you think she can do?
Is there I know that I've heard, that if something's declared an emergency, Trump could attempt to stay in longer, which of course the Democrats would lose their bleep about. But what is that versus Pelosi stepping in because there's this?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think he could declare a state of emergency and postpone the elections. He can try, right? I think right now, I would say there's a legitimate argument to disavow all mail-in ballots at this point and do a redo because there's so much, corruption on that. People getting 3 and 4 ballots. There was a guy on the Glenn Beck show who was talking to his friend, and he was talking about his dear mom who died in 2006, who just got a ballot. 2006.
Yeah.
So what they were saying is, 250,000 people die in California every year.
Yeah, there's
national. That is so 4 years. If they just mail ballots out to people every 4 years, or for whatever,
the last 4 years,
that it would be a
million
people, a million ballots out there that could totally sway an election, locally, whatever. And if you do that on scale, it's totally enough to throw the system into the dumps.
I mean, you'd have to. What is your faith in the American people to do the right thing if given the more than one ballot?
I don't have enough faith in anyone right now. Yeah. I don't have enough faith in myself. If I was in charge of the mail, and let's say I had a truck full of mail, and I knew that they were all Democrat votes, and I knew that the Republic was going to go under if I delivered them. I don't think I'd deliver them. I don't trust any one person with that power.
Yeah, well, and
right?
that's the thing. Who knows? What these mail carriers are thinking. Maybe they're feeling the same way you are on the other side. They're doing the country a favor by not reelecting Trump.
I'm sure they feel. The post office is overwhelmingly Democrat. They overwhelmingly hate Trump. And whether you have people like, I have a really good friend named Amy, who's a postal person. I believe she would do the right thing. But I don't trust anyone not to have a check and balance.
Are they just assuming, okay, this batch of mail came from the military base? I'm assuming it's mostly Republican. Or how do they know?
I don't know how it's organized, but I do know a bunch of Trump ballots were found in a trash can from military from military votes, and they were all thrown out, and they were all Trump.
That's what I'm trying to figure out. How did the postal worker know? Is it
the stamp will say, now remember that video that went out that showed the ballots, and they're like, no one will know who they're voting. And if you looked on the bottom of the ballots with a code, a D was in the code for the Democrats, and an R was there for the Republican.
For if they were registered as such, you're saying, and that's what.
Yes.
Okay. Yes, I remember that.
And so again, I'm not an expert on that. All I'm saying is that there are not enough checks and balances to do that. And I think that they've been proven incompetent by doing it. If we had 20 years to plan for this and stages and checks and balances, and we wanted to go to an all mail-in system, I'm for it. Not because of COVID.
Yeah, I think the confusing factor, and we talked about this yesterday, was the fact that we have a history of doing mail-in ballots. And so I think kind of when people just hear mail-in ballots, they're like, well, what's the big deal? Yes, more people are going to be using it, but we've been doing this for years. And as you were, explaining to me, it's more that I didn't realize that not every state uses it in quantity as some other states do. So it's the lack of preparation and procedures that some states have. So other states might be able to handle this influx of quantity without any issue. It's the states that are not prepared or don't have the history
of
the
difference of a living person has to request a ballot that's sent to them and then sent out. Yeah. And it's staggered in the date, right? Meaning that who knows if they mail it out 3 months ahead, 2 months, 1 month, 6 weeks, who knows?
Okay.
Right? Now, when they're all sent out on a day and they're all coming back on a day, it's a lot easier for you to do a massive amount of fraud in that time, right? Because there's more ballots during that window as that. Okay. And then when you're sending them blanket out to everyone, so every address in America gets, who knows, are they going off the census? That's whatever. I mean, where are they pulling that from? They're mailing it to dead people from 2006.
We probably would be getting ballots under our names at
back in Virginia. Yeah. So again, it's just total chaos and it can't work. In theory, it would seem really easy, but nothing's as easy as it is in theory.
Sure, of course.
Right? Yeah. So again, and then somebody, said, well, what about, voter suppression? I don't believe that we should have voter suppression. There should be enough ballot places everywhere, and they should stay open until all the ballots are cast. Right? If it means that it means that poll doesn't close to the following morning after whatever, doesn't matter. You're in line.
So in what way are they worried about voter suppression? That people
they're saying that poor people in Alabama can't.
Do they have that argument every year? What would be different?
They have that every year, and they're saying that poor people can't get to the ballots. And there has been some shady stuff that's gone down in local elections where they tried to close stuff or whatever. But I mean, I've also seen the disgusting side of the Democrat Party where they go to a mental hospital or a handicap place and they bring a bus of people, with Down syndrome in there and have them vote.
Those people are registered?
They register them. They fill out the paperwork for them. Mm-hmm. They tell them which ones, here it is. This is what you do. And they go in there and do it. I mean, it's disgusting. Mm-hmm. They pay for votes. Now you've got Blumenthal. Was it Blumenthal? One who was in the Democrat Party, the billionaire who's paying for people's fines, so criminals' fines, so they can vote.
Yeah, I don't remember if that's him or not, but I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. So, anyways, there's a billionaire paying people to vote.
Yeah. Which
Florida's AG has said you can't do that. That's vote harvesting and paying for it. So, again, it's a big mess. It's terrible.
It certainly makes you sick to your stomach to think of. I mean, you can look at it and say, how on earth will Trump win? Well, with all the stuff that you hear, and I know the Democrats are saying, how on earth, with all the stuff that Trump's spinning, will the Democrats have a chance? But
it's so dirty,
so dirty.
So why don't we use this time to take do a break to the debate?
Sure.
All right. So I think we covered everything that we want to cover.
Is there anything else you want to say about Trump and coronavirus? As far as we were talking earlier about like what, God forbid he doesn't die, but if he passes away before the election, like there's no precedent on the candidate dying within weeks of the election, and how they determine who would go on the ballot. Would Pence get it?
So we were talking about that, and I was watching again, like I said, I started it, and I was writing a Raven about Geraldo. And then I turned over to Newsmax, and Alan Dershowitz was on there, and he was saying that this is unprecedented, but there is no legal barrier to the Republicans picking whoever they want and putting them on the ballot. Whoever. Doesn't have to be Pence. Doesn't have to be anybody. They can put whoever they want. They'd be crazy
if they tried anyone other than Pence, because Pence right now is part of the influence. Obviously, Trump is the biggest pull, but he's a known name. People feel comfortable
the evangelical
with
base.
him.
Yeah.
So if they tried to pull something and replace it, but obviously this, hopefully it would never ever have to come down to that conversation. But it's crazy to think about.
I mean, but it was like, how soon do you think it's going to take Mitt Romney to try to pull Trump off the ballot? Mm-hmm. And all the deep state trolls. And all the rhinos
just because he's sick.
Like if he ever has to go on a ventilator for an hour, they're going to be, they're going to do that. Mm-hmm. And I honestly think you have to look at, there has to be an investigation on how Trump got this. Mm-hmm. I think they have to go back and contact trace and see if there was a deliberate attempt to get him infected, which would be an attempted assassination in my book.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure the conspiracy theory people will love to go down that road.
I mean, how hard would it be to put on a Trump shirt if you hate him, you're really sick, go up to somebody in his inner circle, give him a hug, and make sure you give him a nice blast of breath?
I'm sure it would be possible.
Right? Yeah. I mean, how hard would that be? They don't know who you are. They're just trying to be friendly. It's a Trump rally. And that's the president's fault for being so available and doing these rallies, which, again, I haven't been for them. Mm. I'm not going to tell you, he's the commander-in-chief, I'm not going to tell him, but I think it's too risky.
Well, and he's handed over all of these talking points to people, as far as the irony that he now has it, after kind of his stance on things.
Herman Cain died from a Trump rally. And I just... I just think it's an unnecessary risk. He loves doing it. It was in that narrative. I hope he beats it. I hope this is a great time for him to get a shot of hydroxychloroquine or whatever, and then tomorrow be out there saying, see, told you it works. Peace. That's what I hope he does. And then he can say, without a doubt, I took X, Y, and Z, and that's why I'm here. Mm-hmm. And slam dunks it in their face. So let's talk about the debate of performance. One, what did you think of it?
I, like many people after that, thought it was very uncomfortable to watch.
I agree with that.
I was cringing most of the time. I understand some of the points that some of the commentators are coming out with, about Trump's strategy and what he did accomplish with it. I think it came across, for the average person who's not going to overanalyze anything, it came across very poorly. And I do think I agree more with the people who say, when Biden's left loose to talk, that's when he comes across the worst. And I think that Trump almost helped Biden because he helped keep him on the train of thought by the interruptions, even if the attempt was to rattle. And it came across as distasteful. I'm not going to, people are losing their mind over the fact that the president is, came across like such an a-hole, but that's not going to stop me from voting for him. But I did see some comments about people who claim to be undecided or in the middle saying that swayed them over to Biden just because Trump left them with such a bad taste in their mouth.
One, I have to say anybody who's still undecided at this point is a freaking moron.
I don't buy
that.
Yeah.
I don't buy it one bit. So one, I hated the debate. I thought it absolutely sucked. I thought that I gave both Biden and Trump a tie for what they did. That's what my biased eye, right? I thought the only loser was Chris Wallace and Fox News. I found everything from the intro to be anti-Trump.
Yeah, it certainly
we both
was.
looked at each other.
It certainly was.
And, the imagery and they had Kamala Harris slandering the president.
Oh, they basically set it up like, Trump was the guy to be ousted and can Biden save the country, basically was how it was.
It was disgusting.
Yeah.
Right? And Fox News is going to crap, guys. They are literally going to crap. Their patriarch is stepped back and stepped away or is dying or something. I can't remember it. But retired and handed the reins over to a bunch of liberals. And they're killing it. Everything from the Newt Gingrich interview where they stomped on him for saying Soros's name, and Harris Faulkner and the two dweebs with her, just totally embarrassing themselves as journalists. Then I lost my train of thought there.
About Fox.
Yeah, so, they're just totally going down the tubes. I mean, there's still channels like Tucker Carlson. It's been interesting to see Fox not name Chris Matthews as Chris Wallace as the worst debate host in history. But they have, like Hannity and them have talked about the moderator. They just named him as the moderator.
Well, and I don't think that Chris Wallace did a great job, and I certainly think that the way he handled questions and how he interacted with the two were fair. I can also look at it in like how really, if someone is intent on talking and interrupting, what really can the moderator do? Right.
Well, it takes a certain relationship with that person, which I think you have to be respected. Trump walked in there knowing Chris Wallace hates his guts, and that he was basically going to be debating 2-on-1.
Yeah, I think the way that he was engaging with Trump and kind of arguing back on some of the points, that certainly was not fair. As far as being able, who could successfully tell Trump to stop talking if Trump wants to talk. That's just how he is. So that piece of saying that, he failed as a moderator, I don't really know what he could have done. I mean, he tried to ask. And I know that now has, gone down the should the moderators have a mute button, which that's a whole other can of worms as far as the power that would give, especially looking forward to this next debate and the clear bias the moderator has going into it, in that he's an intern of Biden's and is clearly friends with this guy. And so seeing that someone like that would have the power to turn off Trump's mic is...
Right. It's too powerful.
Yeah.
So you've said Trump sucked. You said Wallace sucked. How do you think Biden did?
I think that if you didn't go and fact check, or if you didn't know anything about Biden, he came across, if you like kind of the more neutral tone, kind of calm in the face of someone who's trying to ruffle your feathers, he came across better.
Name calling is coming across.
But I'm getting there. The name calling, I mean, it is interesting because everyone says that Trump's the foul-mouthed guy, but Biden is certainly the one. And I know that he was asked afterwards, do you regret any of the things that you said? And he said no, because it was all true, which I know his base would love. Yeah. They feel like that's all true as well. So that's going to be, justly called clown, racist, etc. But then also, if you know anything about his actual policy stance or care to fact check, then you would find out that Biden really didn't say much true, and which would certainly then detract from how he did overall. But initial appearance-wise, I think a lot of people would like how Biden came across better than Trump, minus the name calling. Yeah.
So again, my take on is I totally dislike. I hated the format. I did not like I thought Chris Wallace was terrible. The 2-minute windows for somebody to basically like ask these giant questions and jam it in there. And then, I thought Wallace debated Trump on climate. Mm-hmm. Like it wasn't even Biden. It was Wallace arguing with Trump on it. The questions to Trump were very loaded. He only did one relatively tough question at the end with Biden asking him, if you're the Democrat Party, why haven't you made a phone call? Have you made a phone call to Portland mayors and whatever?
Well,
that was the only one.
He asked about will you come out now and say whether or not you'll stack the court? So that was a legitimate and good question about Biden, but then he let Biden, like he didn't pressure Biden on his answer the same way that he would have pressured Trump.
Right. And, I think Trump had a strategy. I think he had a blitz strategy. His strategy, because we all believe that Biden, one, I believe he was on, performance enhancing drugs last night. I think he was probably on enough Adderall to cause his head to almost explode. His eyes looked weird. I mean, it was a pretty bizarre.
Have you seen the things claiming that there was a wire?
I have seen that. I don't know if it's photoshopped. I don't know whatever. I mean, the fact that they wouldn't agree to an air check tells me everything I need to know. I'm just going to assume that there was.
Yeah, I was trying to figure out how if you could see a wire here, clearly then that would be running up the back, right? I mean,
well, unless is
the
wires
there a wireless
here
transmitter?
And it's wireless to the Bluetooth.
Yeah.
So
they're trying to claim that it was a shirt crease that people saw. So do you remember? And I noticed it, and I don't that he reached in and did this once. And when he pulls his hand out, there's this video, and someone's filming the screen, and you can see it looks like a black line that like comes out of a little lower than his collar area, and then as he moves, it disappears, and it was fact checked as false. This guy's video was covered up on Facebook. False. It's a shirt crease from when he was in his. That's what they're saying it was.
I mean, again,
so that's what's coming out as he was wearing a wire.
Why not allow them to check have a third party to check? I mean, that's where we're at now. There is no honor. There is no. I mean, I believe Biden is a cheating, absolute piece of garbage that'll do anything, and the Democrat Party will do anything to do this with Trump. They tried to do a coup after he was elected. They're trying to change rules. They're literally trying to do everything they possibly can because they want power. When there's no more honor, Trump's ears should have been checked. Everyone should have been checked.
Yeah, I mean, it's not saying you check yours, but I'm not going to check mine. I think it's submitting to things
Trump
across the board.
was right to ask for a drug test. I mean, why not? Mm-hmm. Why not? The only reason why you wouldn't is because you have something to hide.
Yeah.
So, anyways, and so Trump had a blitz approach. He was trying to get Biden to crack. Biden held on by the skin of his teeth. And again, I saw Dan Bongino said some really good stuff where he was saying that Trump basically not streaming while using Mexico cell towers. Okay, Mike. Where, Trump had an agenda, which was to separate Biden from his base by getting Biden to denounce the Green Deal and denounce Bernie Sanders and all of his policies. I think he did that.
He was successful in forcing Biden to say some things out loud like that.
Right.
Whether that will sway anyone, who knows.
And with the chaos of the event, it really did a disservice because you had a great comment when you were looking at the transcript. What did you find?
Well, because we were talking about the did he or did he not denounce white supremacy. And from my recollection of that, as you said, chaotic kind of particular moment in the debate, I came out after that saying he didn't. Why not just say, yes, I denounce white supremacy? I know that he was saying, tell me which name, which group do you want me to say? And so I heard that part. But then when there was an article out the next day that kind of broke down, here's what was said, the first sentence was, sure, of course I will, or something to that effect. And then he moved on to the rest of it.
Wallace kept pushing back, which was a complete misquote of his Charlottesville thing.
Yeah, that's fine.
Wallace directly lied to the American people and said that Trump said that there were good white supremacists in the crowd, and that's not what he said at all.
Yeah.
That whole transcript of the Charlottesville, I was there, people. I was there on the ground in Charlottesville during that time, protecting a client's property. So Charlottesville is near and dear. That's where we used to live. and we have a ton of clients there. And let me tell you, that's not what he said, right? What he said was, is there are good people on either side of the statue issue. Mm-hmm. And then went on to condemn white supremacists, the KKK,
yeah, he specifically said, I am not talking about these groups. But, so that's very unfortunate, is the kindest word to use, that Wallace would have even referenced something that's been debunked as part of the question. But I think...
And then John Roberts did it the next day.
Yeah.
Like literally the next day. And then there's like literally, somebody put a clip together of a bunch of how many times Trump's denounced it. Mm-hmm. And he's tired of it because he's tired of his followers being slandered.
Yeah, well, so do you think the part that's... I'm not confused about that, but like... Because people call all Trump supporters white supremacists, that's why he wants to say, I don't denounce white supremacists? Or why is he tired of his followers?
Because it's tying his name to white supremacy every time it's done.
Wouldn't it...
It'd be like, hey, Lauren,
what? Wouldn't it immediately sever that tie for him not to give it any air and just say, yes?
No, because it reminds everyone that Trump's supposedly got white... It reinforces the lie every time it's brought up. Why does not every other politician in the world have to get up and denounce white supremacy? Why does not every black person have to get up and denounce, black hate groups and black power groups? Why doesn't everyone have to get up and denounce it? He's the only one that has to do it.
If they're going to be talking about it anyways, it's going to get airtime anyways. Why give them the sound bites of them fighting back against this and not saying it? Just take the air out of it whenever they say, will Trump denounce it? Yes. Next question.
I don't think that diffuses the problem. I really don't, because it's never enough.
That eliminates it as a soundbite, though, that they can come back and say, Trump is dodging the question.
I don't know.
Does it suck that they have to deal with it regularly? Yes. Is there video proof that there's a history of him denouncing it? Yes. I just don't understand why continue to make it a big deal. You know that they're going to come after him for it. So just, yes, he denounces it. Next question. And then they won't play it over and over and over and over and over.
Yeah, I don't know.
It'll become less thrilling to ask as a question because they know that they're not going to get the response they want.
I don't know. I think I know he's a proud man, and I know that he's tired of, why can't we talk about something legitimate? Like, how many more times does he have to do it? If every interview he ever does for the rest of his life, he's going to start with, hi, I'm Donald Trump, I denounce racism. It's freaking ridiculous, and they're being bullies doing it. Screw them. I don't blame him for saying that. I'll be like, do you? How about you? Do you denounce any allegiance to the Democrat Party, Chris Wallace? Have you ever voted Democrat? Have you ever partied with Epstein? Have you ever done all this? Denounce all this right now, Chris Wallace. Right? I mean, you get tired of that if you were always tied to that. Like, Lauren, if someone said something untrue of you about high school and every time you met somebody, you had to come up and shake their hand and say, hey, you know what? I didn't do this in high school.
I understand it. I understand why they're going to be annoyed about it, but they also know they know what the media is going to be doing. And the media is, if they don't get their little ball to play with after every press conference that Trump dodges the question, then they're going to, if they never get what they want, which is that soundbite, they're going to move on to something else. They're going to grow tired of it because right now he's giving them what they want.
Yeah. I mean, maybe you're right. Maybe if he just get up there and he said, do you announce this? Of course. Next. Nothing. I want you to say this sentence, which is what Wallace was trying to get him to, because he denounced it. He said, yeah, sure. And then Wallace pressed. And so now I want you to say the exact phrase I want you to say as the moderator. So he did exactly what you said. Literally, that was his first response. Of course.
Yeah, well, and then I've seen that the word sure isn't powerful enough. Sure doesn't sound convincing. But that's, yes.
Sure, I will do anything, was his quote. I'll do anything. I'll do anything for peace.
Yeah, of course I want peace. Yeah.
Sure, I will do anything for peace, was the line approximately. And that still wasn't enough. Mm-hmm. No, I must get up there. I, Donald J. Trump, whatever, and dance to his freaking puppy. He's not going to do that. Thank God he didn't. That guy shouldn't be in news anymore. I think he's totally blown away. Go to CNN, go to MSNBC, be the next loser on Morning Joe, whatever it is. You're a total joke. You're a little man sitting there, guys, stop talking. Just total loser, man. Total loser. They should have Joe Rogan on there, and I'm not even that big of a fan of Joe Rogan, but at least Joe Rogan, I think, would have got him to be able to be quiet.
Well, I know that's been proposed as a debate. Not that that's
yeah. Trump wanted a 3-hour debate with him. I think honestly, if you're going to do these things and you're going to ask big questions, you got to give him some time. Give him 5 minutes.
Is that how these debates? I can't remember. I know there's always the town hall, and has that always been the format of the time limits like that, the 2-minute?
No, it's been different. It used to be if someone mentioned your name, you had a chance to recant.
I know that's when it's in the within party.
And there was a buzzer, a boop boop. And I found the buzzer and stuff to be, I think that's a better way than mute. Time, and they keep going. And then it's, you keep doing that. So, yes, they're going to get it. It's just going to be out there, and it just makes them whatever. But I think Trump should change his strategy. I think, everybody out there knows that if you let Joe Biden talk long enough, he's going to give himself the Medal of Honor. He was at the Civil War. He was at Bunker Hill. He stormed the beaches of Normandy. He's the guy. Right?
I'm the guy.
Yeah, he's the guy who did everything and was everywhere and just steals everyone's stories and makes them his own. Mm-hmm. Right?
Yeah. Well, I think they're going to be prepared for Trump to be the same loud, interrupting, debater next time. I think it probably would throw Biden for more of a loop if Trump came out and let him talk.
Yeah. I thought I was very disappointed, and I thought he missed an opportunity. Not that I think there's a single person out there in America who hasn't made up their mind.
I don't think that anyone who is for Trump saw that and was like, oh, no, I'm not going to vote for Trump anymore.
Hey, David, good to see you. Mike, good to see you.
So that's what Bongino was saying the goal was. He wouldn't lose Trump. He wouldn't lose supporters from that performance, but potentially could get Biden to lose supporters by forcing him to.
And that was his attempt, was to go out there, back him up, and get him to deny the Green New Deal so that everybody with pink, purple, blue hair and steel running through their face is going to, the Bernie bros are going to hear Trump denounce Bernie, and they're immature enough to say, I'm not going to vote now. I'm going to write in Bernie, or AOC for president, whatever. And they'll do that, and maybe that's enough to peel them off.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. On to the next. The vice presidential debate will be interesting because Pence obviously is an entirely different.
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't ever seen Pence debate. I don't remember. I love the guy. I think he's an outstanding human and individual. I don't know how he is in verbal combat.
Yeah, I feel like, of the two, Harris is going to try to play dirtier. Yeah. And I don't see him biting on that.
Well, here's the whole thing is how do you debate somebody who doesn't live in truth?
Yeah. Right.
So, Biden didn't say one thing true during this whole debate other than his name and his son's name.
Mm-hmm.
Right. He didn't, just totally, I just turned in, but do you guys think that Trump will do the next two debates? Thanks, Dave. We haven't covered that. If he does the next two debates or if there's two new debates, I think he's going to have to change his tactics, which Lauren and I talked about.
Yeah, well, do you think that he'll do them at all? The coronavirus diagnosis, the COVID, that's going to change whether he's going to be able to make this next. Because I know that that's been all over the news this morning, and it was if he remained asymptomatic, then you have to isolate for 10 days and then have 2 negative tests is kind of the standard. But being symptomatic, I think then you have to have 10 days post-symptoms. Don't quote me on that, but I know that the key talking point was whether he remained asymptomatic or not, and supposedly he has developed some what they're calling minor symptoms. So I don't know what that does for the timeline because they're riding up on 12 days away.
Yeah, I have no idea. They might have to bump it or they might have to move it. Biden would have to agree to that. I think everyone's going to be sympathetic to the president being sick. Legitimately, I don't think, there was a lot of people hypothetically saying that Biden was going to contract COVID to avoid the debates. Mm-hmm. Tucker Carlson had a $1,000 bet with somebody on that.
Oh, really?
And he lost it. I honestly think that they're there's a chance, Dave. My concern is I really hope Trump doesn't go on a ventilator. You know, if he goes on a ventilator, then they swear in Pence. If Pence gets sick and they're both on ventilators, Nancy Pelosi becomes president, brother. And that is the scariest thing I could ever imagine. Mm-hmm. If anybody in America thinks that, there's probably maybe 15% of America that thinks that's a good idea.
Yeah.
I don't even think most Democrats think that is a good idea.
Probably not.
You would have to have the most militant, feminist, like total loonies think that Nancy Pelosi should be president. Like if she ran for president, she'd probably get 10 votes.
And woman power. Hear us roar.
Yeah. So since we got to talk about it, even though I don't think it's going to happen, and I pray, and we open the show with a prayer for the president. If they have to replace him at the top of the ticket, who would you choose?
Oh, gosh, I'm not prepared for that question. I think that the logical person would be to bump Pence into that position, being that he's already on the ticket. People know him. People love him. He's a calming, steady force. So
I would say Pence at the top of the ticket and then a strong female. Mm-hmm. My favorite governor.
Your new favorite governor?
My favorite governor.
Have you heard, guys, we're moving to South Dakota?
I love her in a follower way, not in a romantic way. I don't even. Is it Noam? How do you say her?
Christine Noam.
Christine and Noam. Her social distancing. I'm not a hunter, guys. I'm just not. I respect you guys to vote. I just haven't found any meat that I like. But her social distancing, where she's out in the field shooting ducks or quail or whatever the heck they are, saying,
that's how we social distance.
That's how we practice social distancing.
Yeah, I saw an interview with her. I was like, Jason didn't see it. I went and told him after. I was like, it's a good thing you didn't see this because I know that we'd be already on the road to South Dakota if you had. And it was an interview with her, and she was cowboying it up on a horseback, herding bison.
Herding bison or buffalo. That is awesome, man. I'm like, that's a governor.
Yeah.
Not Ralph Northam, who murdered babies on the table after they were already born.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's Virginia's governor. And Janet Mills, I won't even get into that. Anyways, so I hope it's Pence, and I would like to see a female candidate or a black candidate as the VP. Tim Scott out of South Carolina would be a good one. Alan West would be another good one, in my opinion. I don't know if he would bring anything. He's already. We already know we're going to get Texas, but I'd like to see that. Condoleezza Rice, if she would be up for it. Which just
the scrambling to put that in place. I mean, how?
Well, here's the things that would have to happen. Every ballot that was already cast would be thrown out, and they would have to do a new ballot, which would be our best chance, believe it or not, to get a fair vote, because we know how many fake ones are out there right now, or all this other stuff. So it would be another attempt to clean up the voting that's already been going on.
It's already so messy. I just cannot imagine. And again, as we've said, pray to God that Trump lives through this, has no major symptoms, can keep on trucking, but holy smokes.
It's terrifying, guys. It's absolutely terrifying. I mean, how much more can our system take right now?
You keep thinking that we're at the max, and then nope, there's something else. Something else.
Yeah, I mean, I'm truly worried that we're going to see the violence that we talked about in the beginning of the show. I'm truly, truly, truly scared and worried for my country and for our family's future and everyone else's future, because I don't think we go back to ever being the same after that.
Yeah, it's so visceral. I mean,
like people who, romantically say we'll fix this country for the next 1,000 years next time. And I just don't think they understand the cost.
After the war? You're saying a war would fix it?
After a civil war, we would fix the country for the next, 1,000 years. And I don't think they understand the cost of that.
I don't think people are thinking through the impact on themselves.
Hey, Ron, Christy is the bomb. She is. That's who I mean, we all right. So let's get to our personal life right now. We ready for our personal life? Our disaster of a personal life. There's a reason why I haven't been on Patriot Crusader page, and my Patreon is way behind, and everything else. Our house sale blew up. So we had 2 contracts on our house. One, they came in, they had a house to sell, right? And then somebody else came in.
So we had because they had a home contingency sale on their end, they accepted a kick-out clause of that first contract. So we were able to continue showing the house and accept other offers. Not backup offers. We could kick them out.
Right.
And so we did.
So we got another offer for $7,000 more with no contingencies. They agreed that the inspection was just a formality and we were going to move on. They came in dishonestly with a piece of garbage realtor who decided they were going to try to beat us down in price after they had already agreed. So they came in and asked for $50,000 off the house below what they agreed to afterwards for things that weren't even in the report, and so we had to bail on the deal and our house went back on the market. So this has opened up some interesting challenges for the Perry family. On top of that, we started experiencing persecution from the left. We had a major, with Trident Shield, we had a major webinar set up with a partner that brought 213 prospective clients from around the country. This is a national partner for a webinar. And they canceled the webinar 2.5 hours before because one of our slides named the riots the BLM and Antifa riots, which is who's doing them. And they canceled it on us, made us look like complete clowns. That would have been our lead list for the next 3 years. And it really lit a massive fire under us and put us under pressure because we were really counting on that turning into some sales. Typically when we show to that many, that feeds us for years to come. I mean, that is like legitimate hundreds of thousands of dollars into the company for us to remain open and close contracts and deals. And they took it from us. And, it put us into a 5-alarm fire mode right in the middle of all this, right? And then our house fell out the next day, right? It was like back-to-back bad news, and then get an unannounced $5,000 bill on top of that. And then another $16,800 bill on top of that. And it just kept coming, guys. And we were just like, oh my God, what are we going to do? So now we have several plans that we're going to do that we're talking over right now. If our house sells in the next few weeks, we're entertaining moving back south to probably just over the border, North Carolina or West Virginia, just to avoid the bad gun laws in Virginia and still be close enough to a lot of our customers. We went through our client list and most of our customers are in Virginia and North Carolina. No surprise there. So we were looking at that. And option 2 is if our house doesn't sell, well, then we're going to move back and we're there for the long haul. We're there until this COVID madness is over, the economy's back, and we can move in a strong manner. Option 3, and this one's kind of exciting, is if the house sells, we're thinking about buying an RV and taking this podcast on the road and traveling the country for a year plus.
So I want to hear if anyone has done the RV thing. Bonus points if you've done it in a full-time kind of way. Extra bonus points if you've done it with a baby and 3 large dogs. How crazy are we I want to hear how crazy are we for thinking that this is a good idea.
My goal would be to take Patriot Crusader Mission around the country. We'd stop at a church and interview a pastor in every town. We would hit a training facility in every place we stopped. So we'd get to do all the cool shooting we ever wanted to do all around the country and offer reviews. And then go to places and go over safety stuff like, hey, we're at, whatever, the mall in the America's Mall, the biggest mall in America. What do we see here as we film, and what we do if this happened or if that happened? and then just take you on life on the road with us and, living tactically in a fifth wheel, travel in the country with, hopefully we'll be down to 2 dogs. We're trying to get Dylan to the in-laws. What?
That hasn't been agreed on.
Look at that.
That's my dog.
But we're seriously
nerve-wracking to drive if you do get a Class C. Yeah, we would get the fifth wheel tow behind. Is that what the Class C is?
Yeah, he's saying get a Class C, do not get an A. Yeah, without a doubt, Dave. We're gonna get a fifth wheel. We're looking at one that I think it's 43 feet long.
Huge.
They're huge.
Really he's gonna have to do a lot of driving. I'm not driving that thing.
We'll get a dually. We'll get a big truck. We'll trade in the bourbon. We'll get a big truck, extended cab. And we're not going to travel a new place every day. We're probably going to get someplace and stick for a while. Go through some training programs, see the city, experience it, and then try to figure out where we want to be. We know it's not going to be Texas. It's too darn hot. And we know it's not going to be Florida. It's too darn hot. But North Dakota, tow behind. No tow behind. No.
Tow behind is even better.
Yeah, tow behind is what we're doing. We're doing a fifth wheel. And, those are the only 2 you can actually live in full-time.
Are you saying the kinds that isn't the fifth wheel that attaches to the ball of a car? Like towing a boat kind?
Yeah, we'll see what he says. But, the fifth wheel and the Class A are the 2 that you can live in full-time. And and that's our part. That's our plan.
C.
Our plan B.
B or C?
I would say B. We don't have a place to rent yet down south.
Or we could stay here. We have no idea what the heck we're doing, guys. No idea. Not at all.
So
It's been really fun. You should come hang out with us on any day, and you'll love it.
Talk about
You'll
it, babe.
love it.
Seems like you've got something you want to get off your chest right now. You got something you want to get off your chest
You
right now?
said that's why we haven't been doing these podcasts, and that's the truth.
Yeah, but you got something you want to get off your chest right now. I'm just curious.
No, just that any one of these things that we have up in the air right now would be enough to be like, wow, life's complicated right now. We just threw it all out there, which is our pattern. I love this pattern.
Well, we could do the Christian thing and just do what, whatever the husband says goes, and we'd be already somewhere right now. But unfortunately, we have a Democratic family, and the Democratic family seems, I get outvoted. I don't know how I get outvoted when there's only 2 people in the family, but I get outvoted. I get the mama veto an awful lot. Look at that face. Look at that.
We're crossing over into a conversation that they don't want to be a part of. So we'll just leave it as shit's complicated right now.
So David said Class A is like a bus, Class C is like a van. Drives way better. Fifth wheel is the way to go. Absolutely, Dave. We agree with that.
Do you want to come RVing with us, Dave? Sounds like you know what you're doing.
Billy, we'll both go RVing. We'll travel the whole place. Get some 4-wheelers.
We're trying to solicit good neighbors because RV parks look like they suck. So it would help to know who we're next to.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, slippery slope. Yes, you're correct, Dave. The hole is getting deeper.
Come on now. So what else do we want to talk about? We only made it through 2 things.
We're coming up on an hour. But I think everyone, as Positive Patty, woohoo, Sunshine Lauren, we should celebrate the fact that they caught the jerk who shot those 2
The animal
cops.
that shot the 2 cops. They've got him, and they charged him with attempted murder and a bunch of other charges. So that's a good thing.
Yeah, he's facing life in prison.
Yeah. Well, hopefully it's a short life in prison and that someone takes care of that for him.
Dave doesn't want to go RVing with us.
Oh, come on, man. What's wrong, bro? We'll stop at a CrossFit gym in every town. So we'll do a church, a shooting school,
that's really
and a
encouraging.
CrossFit gym in every town for you. How's that?
That's really encouraging for our plan B or C.
Well, I don't know how much RVing Dave's done. I don't think very much.
Yeah.
So
We haven't done any either.
Yeah, I've never done it, period. Well, I've done it once. I took
We're going to be the people who
a
make all the
large
mistakes.
towing one to Ozfest in Charlotte from one time from Fayetteville, North Carolina. That was very interesting. So anyways, good time. Recommended. So that's why we're open to this. The only problem is we can't seem to find any RV parks where you actually get like some land to park on. It's all like a driveway, like stacked like cordwood on each
Parking
other.
lot.
Yeah, it's terrible. It's terrible.
That's one of the key reasons this plan might derail.
That would be the only reason I think it would derail.
Other than the fact that we're trying to fit 3 dogs, a baby, and an office into. We'll talk, Dave. It sounds like you might have some things that we should know.
You might not have been in a good place when you did it. All right, so we're gonna figure that out. So, anyways, I want to give a shout out to my dad and Cindy, who came up here to see Baby B from Massachusetts. I know they're driving home right now, and I hope that drive is going better than their drive up here. My dad is anti-technology, so of course they got lost. They got off an exit and went searching and didn't go so well. So a drive that was supposed to be
4.5 hours took 7.5.
They made it. They made it all the way to New Hampshire.
Highway. It's supposed to be a highway.
It's literally a straight shot. You don't have to even like make a turn.
But it was a great visit.
Yeah.
And the next time you see us, we might have a picture of Cindy on the set because she was quite unhappy.
There were no family photos up there.
Of her on
But no, I'm keeping it. That's my I love me wall back there. Those are me back there.
And there's a bee that goes somewhere.
Yeah.
Over there.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's right. In the book.
The book.
So, anyways, looks like we're rolling up on an hour, but I'd still like to bang out one more topic if we could, because I know we had a pretty extended intro.
Sure, we're on the B clock at the moment. Let's see. Well, no, you already talked about the cancel culture thing.
All right. Well, then I guess that's it.
We're good. We
All
hit
right.
it all.
Well, everyone, thank you so much for joining us. We're going to start doing these live again. You know, I know it does cut down on our Facebook views, but it's the only way we can extend our reach a little bit. It's been slow going. Our inconsistency hasn't helped us all that much with the life issues, but you know, I just think that that you guys really enjoy these things. So again, we'll close it out with a prayer. Dear Heavenly Father, Lord, we thank you for everything. We thank you for being around here today. We thank you for the greatest country that has ever existed, Lord. We ask that you heal our president and heal the first lady. We ask that you heal everyone who's affected by this coronavirus. We ask that you protect our troops overseas, our first responders at home, particularly our law enforcement who are so persecuted right now, Lord. We ask that you give the president the wisdom and the people around him the wisdom to lead us through this trying time. And we come to you, Lord, and we plead with you right now, Lord, to heal this nation, to bring us back towards you. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Mm-hmm. So that's all we got. Patriot Crusader Mission out.